Welcome to the deep dive. We're tackling a topic today that is, well, absolutely foundational.
It really is.
Yet the nuances we found in our sources reveal some surprising angles, even if you think you know it all. We're talking personal finance 101.
Yep. Navigating your money.
Not just the basics, though, but how to do it with insights pulled right from the materials you shared.
Exactly. We've gone through a stack of articles, resources, covering, everything from emergency funds, budgeting methods,
Debt management, credit scores.
tracking your net worth, all of it.
And our mission is pretty sharp. Give you
Wow.
a shortcut past the generic advice.
Right.
We're hunting for the most important bits, maybe some facts you haven't thought about, and connecting the dots so you get clarity without, wading through a textbook.
This deep dive is all about unpacking these specific sources,
Yeah.
figuring out what stands out, what's most important for you to know as you, handle your money.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The sources start right at the beginning. What is personal finance?
Yeah, and it's more than just the industry, right?
Right. They focus on it being all the decisions you make. Earning, budgeting, saving, spending, giving.
Taking responsibility,
Yeah.
essentially, for your own financial situation.
Then setting goals.
And setting goals, yes.
Yeah.
But the real kicker in these sources is why it matters so much.
Right.
It's not just numbers on a page.
No, it shapes your life. How you manage money impacts, well, everything, present and future.
There was that one line.
Oh, I know the one. If you don't manage your money, it will manage you.
That's it. That really hits home, doesn't it? It feels like the core tension here.
Totally.
No.
And the sources really hammer this home by pointing to, recent history.
Yeah, they mentioned the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, specific examples.
As wake-up calls, showing how crucial things like an emergency fund, a solid budget, having a plan B or C really are.
Because big disruptions, stock market crashes, global stuff.
Yeah.
They aren't just theoretical. They happen fast.
Being prepared isn't being paranoid, it's essential. That's the message from this material.
And here's a really interesting bit from one source, kind of shifts the perspective. They argue that, sure, head knowledge is part of it, maybe 20%, but personal finance, it's fundamentally 80% behavior.
Ah, okay. So knowing what to do isn't the main problem.
Exactly. The principles are usually pretty straightforward. The real challenge, the real deep dive, is in the doing, actually putting it into practice.
Which leads us right where these sources say you have to start budgeting.
Yep. Non-negotiable first step, according to them. The foundation for all the other good money habits.
And it's not about feeling restricted, is it? It's about being intentional.
Totally. Telling your money exactly where you want it to go before you start wondering where it all went.
Huh, yeah, been there.
We all have.
Yeah.
And these sources, they really lean into the zero-based budget idea.
Right. Income minus expenses equals zero. Explain that a bit more because it sounds like spending everything.
It does, but it's not. It means every single dollar gets a job. That job might be spending, sure, but it could also be giving, saving, paying off debt.
Okay, so it's assigning everything. Purposefully.
Exactly. Planned giving, planned saving, planned spending. The sources lay out the steps. List income, list all expenses, including savings goals, subtract, should hit zero.
And then you track it all month.
Track it diligently. And crucially, make a new budget before the next month starts. It's that cycle of planning, tracking, adjusting.
Got it. Consistent review. They mention apps too, right? Like Every Dollar or Budget Calculator.
Yeah, tools can definitely help. But even pen and paper works. It's the habit.
And they do offer alternatives to zero-based, right? Recognizing one size doesn't fit all.
They do. There's the 50-30-20 budget. That's simpler.
Okay, how's that work?
50% of your take-home pay for needs housing, food, utilities. 20% for savings or aggressive debt payoff, and then 30% for wants.
So that builds in some fun money, but also forces saving.
Right. Balances things out. Then there's pay yourself first.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
It's less a full budget, more a habit you add on top. Your savings contribution is the very first bill you pay, preferably automated.
Straight out of your paycheck, ideally.
Yep. Forces the priority. After saving in essential bills, the rest is, theoretically, more flexible.
And the envelope budget. Still a thing.
Still a thing. Could be physical cash or digital envelopes in an app or spreadsheet. You allocate funds to categories.
And when the envelope's empty?
That's it. Spending in that category stops until next month. What you do with leftover money? Well, the sources say be flexible. Roll it over, boost savings, whatever works for you.
The key takeaway, though, across all these methods,
Is that you decide the amounts. There's no magic number for groceries or entertainment that fits everyone.
it has to work for your life, your goals, And you got to be ready to adjust it.
Absolutely. It's a tool to get control, helps avoid impulse buys, not a punishment.
That control, that intentionality, it flows right into the next big point from the sources. Living within your means. Spending smart.
Sounds basic, but it's the bedrock, isn't it? You can't save, you can't invest, you can't get out of debt if you're constantly spending more than you make.
Avoids that paycheck to paycheck cycle or relying on credit cards just to get by.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the sources get really specific about where people often mess up, the common financial mistakes.
Yeah, this list was eye-opening. Not just huge things, but the small stuff, like unnecessary spending.
The daily coffee, eating out a lot.
And they put numbers on it, like $25 a week on that stuff is $1,300 a year.
That's real money. Now, they do acknowledge, mental wellness.
Yeah.
If it's budgeted, fine. But if money is tight, that's the first place to look.
Makes sense. And then never-ending payments. Subscriptions.
Streaming fancy gyms, are they needs? Or are they wants that are maybe hindering your ability to build a buffer?
A leaner lifestyle can help you ride out tough times is the idea.
Definitely. And then the big one, living large on credit cards,
Oh.
using them for non-essentials. It's common, but the sources really warn against it because of the interest rates.
Yeah, you cited a number, 24.62% median.
As of June 2024 in one source, yeah. That's huge. It makes everything you buy cost way more in the long run. Traps you.
Another one. Buying a new vehicle.
Oh, yeah. Financing something that's losing value the second you drive it and paying interest on top of that.
Plus insurance, gas, maintenance. It all adds up. They question needing, say, a big, expensive SUV.
Right. Could a smaller, cheaper, more fuel-efficient car do the job and save you a ton? Money that could go to savings or debt.
Good point. Spending too much on a home, too.
Bigger isn't always better. More taxes, more upkeep, higher utility bills, beyond just the mortgage payment.
Those carrying costs sneak up on you. They mention the 28-36 rule.
Yeah, a guideline. No more than 28% of your gross monthly income on housing costs, and no more than 36% on all your debt payments combined. Just a benchmark.
And misusing home equity, that was a stark warning.
Using a HELOC or cash out refi like an ATM, big mistake according to this material. You're basically giving away ownership and paying interest for potentially unnecessary spending.
Refinancing to get a lower rate or pay off high-interest debt can make sense, though.
Oh, sure. Strategically, yes, but not just for casual spending.
Okay, so get spending under control, then what?
Then the sources all agree. The next absolute must is saving for the unexpected, the emergency fund.
Ah, yes. Because, as one source puts it, it rains.
Yeah. Emergencies happen. They're not if, they're when. Medical bills, car breaks down, lose your job.
This fund is your umbrella.
Exactly. And they suggest a clear, phased approach. First step.
Get $1,000 saved up, fast.
Yep. Your starter fund. It shields you from those small ankle-biter emergencies, the things that would normally make you reach for a credit card.
Prevents derailing your whole plan right away.
Totally. Then, once that $1,000 is solid,
And the bigger goal, 3 to 6 months of living expenses.
essential living expenses, yeah. And you might need more, the sources say, if your income is less stable. Freelance, seasonal work, maybe aim for closer to 6 months or even more.
The benefit isn't just having the cash, right? It's
Yeah.
peace of mind.
Huge peace of mind. Knowing you can handle a layoff or a big repair without total panic, without digging a deep debt hole, that's invaluable.
So where should you keep this magic money?
High-yield savings account is the recommendation. Key things. Make sure it's federally insured.
FDIC insured, up to the limit.
Right. Earn some interest, though that's not the main goal. And critically, you can get the money easily when you need it.
But not too easily, right?
Exactly. Keep it separate from your everyday checking account. Out of sight, less temptation to rate it for, a weekend trip.
They even mention options if you've had banking issues, like second chance checking accounts.
Yeah, as a stepping stone to rebuild history if needed. The point is to get it somewhere safe and accessible, but separate.
How do you actually build it? It sounds like a lot.
Consistency is key. Calculate your target amount first. Then break it down into smaller monthly savings goals. Make it less daunting.
Then automate it.
Automate, automate, automate. That's that 80% behavior thing again. Split your direct deposit, set up automatic transfers. Make it happen without thinking.
Other tricks mentioned, roundup apps, saving tax refunds.
Yep, all helpful tactics. Or adjusting your W-4 withholding so you get less of a refund but more cash in each paycheck now to save. Just find ways to consistently feed the fund.
And then maybe a separate rainy day fund later.
Yeah, once the main emergency fund is solid. For those predictable but, Irregular things, car maintenance, new tires, maybe replacing clothes, stops those from feeling like emergencies too.
Okay, budgeting dialed in, emergency fund growing. What's next on the list?
Debt, the big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, the sources acknowledge most people have some debt. And maybe not all debt is terrible.
Right. If it's used strategically, like for education that boosts earning power or starting a business, it could be an investment.
But managing it wisely is key no matter why you have it.
Absolutely. Keeping track, having a plan,
Yeah.
non-negotiable. Debt management is about getting it under control, using that budget you built.
The goal being lower the total amount, work towards eliminating it.
Exactly. The principles are pretty simple, but again, it's the discipline.
Know your enemy, basically. Understand what you owe, amounts, interest rates, due dates.
Use your budget to figure out how much extra you can throw at it. And then, pick a payoff strategy.
Yes, the methods. Avalanche versus snowball.
The two main ones discussed. Avalanche method. Purely logical. Pay extra on the debt with the highest interest rate first. Pay minimums on everything else.
Saves the most money on interest over time. Mathematically optimal.
Right. But then there's the snowball method.
More psychological, this one.
Yeah, focused on behavior and motivation. You pay off the smallest debt balance first, regardless of the interest rate.
Get that quick win.
Exactly. Then you take the money you are paying on that now gone debt and add it to the payment for the next smallest debt. Creates momentum, a snowball effect.
So one saves more money, the other might keep you motivated longer.
Pretty much. The sources don't necessarily push one over the other, just pick one and stick to it. The main thing is getting out of debt.
They describe it as a weight, right? Stressful, holds you back.
Definitely. Paying it off is like taking back your paycheck, taking back control.
Okay. Which leads us naturally to credit, often tied up with debt.
Very much so. Credit scores. Lenders use them to guess how likely you are to pay back money you borrow.
Higher score. Easier to get loans, better interest rates. Saves you money.
Generally, yes. Scores often run 300 to 850, but the sources note that the range can actually vary.
And you don't just have one score.
Nope. You have many. Different lenders use different formulas, different scoring models. FICO, Vantage Score, plus the data comes from different credit bureaus.
Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, the big three.
Right. So your score might vary slightly, depending on who's looking and which model they use. Might be worth shopping around for loans because of that.
Where do these scores actually come from?
From the information lenders report to those credit bureaus about how you handle your debts.
And what affects the score?
Several things listed in the sources. How many credit accounts you have, how long you've had them. A longer history is generally better.
How much of your available credit you're using. That's utilization, right?
Exactly. Keeping your balances low compared to your total credit limit is key. Experts often advise staying below 30% utilization.
And the big one.
Payment history. How often you've paid late. Paying on time, every single time, has the biggest impact.
So improving your score comes down to doing those things well.
Pretty much. Pay bills on time, religiously. Set up auto pay, reminders, whatever it takes. If you've missed payments, get current and stay current.
Keep those credit card balances low, way below the limit, below 30% if possible.
Build a long credit history. Don't just open and close accounts constantly. Actually, closing old accounts can sometimes hurt your score if it reduces your overall available credit and bumps up your utilization percentage.
Tricky. And don't apply for tons of credit all at once.
Right. Only apply for what you really need. A flurry of applications can look like you're in financial trouble.
Then check your actual credit report.
Crucial step mentioned in the sources. Mistakes happen. Wrong info, accounts that aren't yours, incorrect late payments. These can drag down your score unfairly.
Get those free reports, annualcreditreport.com, one from each bureau per year. Plus, Equifax is offering more until 2026.
That's what one source said. Yeah. Look for errors. Anything that doesn't look right.
What do you do if you find one?
Dispute it. Contact both the credit reporting company, Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, and the company that supplied the wrong information, like the bank or lender.
Explain the error, send proof if you have it. The reports have instructions.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. One source throws a major curveball on credit scores.
Oh, how so?
It basically calls the credit score an I love debt score.
Wow, okay. That's blunt. What's the reasoning?
The argument is that the score doesn't measure how wealthy you are or how much income you have, or even if you manage money well without borrowing. It just measures your track record with debt.
So a high score just means you're good at borrowing and remitting?
According to this perspective, yes. It suggests focusing instead on actually building wealth, saving, investing, being generous. Forget the score game.
And they argue you can actually thrive without a credit score if you just avoid debt.
That's the claim. If you don't borrow, you might not have much of a score, and this source says that's perfectly fine. You can navigate life, even big purchases eventually, without playing the credit score game.
That is a radically different take than the standard advice. Definitely something to chew on. Okay, so assuming you've got debt handled, emergency fund built, where do the sources point next?
Towards the future. Wealth building,
Yeah.
primarily investing for retirement.
Okay, the advice here.
Pretty consistent target. Invest 15% of your gross household income for retirement.
15%. And where should that 15% go? There was a kind of hierarchy.
Yeah, one source put it simply. Match beats Roth beats traditional.
Okay, break that down.
First, if your employer offers a 401k match, contribute enough to get all of it. That's free money. Don't leave it on the table.
Step 1, get the match. Got it.
Step 2, after the match, max out a Roth IRA if you're eligible. You put in after-tax money, but it grows and comes out tax-free in retirement, which could be huge.
Okay, match first, then Roth IRA.
Step 3, if you've done both of those and still haven't hit your 15% total investment goal, go back to your 401k or similar workplace plan and increase your contributions there until you do reach 15%.
That 401k contribution is usually pre-tax, right? Lowers your taxable income now.
Usually, yes. Though some plans offer Roth 401k options now too, but the basic idea is prioritize the match, then Roth IRA, then back to the 401k.
Any tips on how to invest that money?
Briefly, yes. Diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread the money across different types of mutual funds like growth funds, growth and income, international aggressive growth reduces risk.
Makes sense. What about saving for kids' college?
The advice was clear. Do that after you're securing your own retirement by investing that 15%. Your retirement has to come first. Kids have options for college funding, including working or scholarships. You can't borrow for retirement.
Fair point. Okay, finally, net worth.
Right. Tracking your overall financial picture. It's simply your assets, everything you own of value, minus your liabilities, everything you owe.
Assets minus liabilities equals net worth.
Yep. It shows your progress over time. One source mentioned you need this calculation like a personal financial statement for getting loans.
And that source said, for official things, they often exclude personal stuff like jewelry or furniture.
Yeah, unless it's exceptionally valuable and verifiable. The focus is usually on financial assets and major property.
But there was that interesting discussion about what people track for their own net worth calculation.
Right. Everyone includes the obvious. Cash, savings, checking, investments like 401ks and IRAs, value of your house, value of cars.
But the debate was about, like, computers, TVs, furniture, stuff that loses value fast.
Exactly. Some people say including that stuff just inflates the number. It's playing games. Those things are hard to sell, don't really help you reach retirement goals. They're more like sunk costs.
What about collectibles? Like that example of a currency collection worth maybe $5.
The consensus seemed to be, you can include it. Maybe it's a separate line item if it's genuinely valuable and you can sell it. But be realistic about selling costs and the time it takes. It's not like cash in the bank. So really, what you include depends on why you're calculating it. Formal loan application, insurance purposes, or just tracking your own progress.
For tracking progress towards goals, it seems the focus is mostly on the liquid assets, investments, and major property, the things that really build wealth.
That seems to be the practical takeaway, yeah.
Oh, okay. So we've really covered the gamut here. A true deep dive into personal finance basics guided by these sources.
From budgeting and why it's critical, building that emergency fund.
To tackling debt with a plan, understanding credit scores, and maybe even ignoring them.
That controversial take, yeah.
Yeah.
And then moving on to building wealth for the future and tracking your net worth.
The big message seems to be managing your money is crucial, yes, but it's mostly about action, that 80% behavior thing.
Having a plan and actually doing it, that's what these sources stress is essential for your financial future.
All right, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. We heard the standard advice. Build a good credit score. But we also heard that alternative view, the I love debt score idea, suggesting you can thrive by avoiding debt altogether.
So if personal finance really is 80% behavior, and if there's a path where chasing a high credit score isn't the main objective,
Does actively choosing to not accumulate debt fundamentally change the other behaviors, the day-to-day strategies you use to manage your money? Something to think about as you continue your own financial journey.